Hey, preacher, no diving. What's up, guys? As you can tell, it is summertime in Oklahoma, and we've busted the pool out for preacher. So that means it's time to bust the air conditioner out for me. I told you guys in the last video how that was about my limits as far as the heat and humidity went. So got in there this morning and got out some of the stuff. I have to fill that pool up like 19 times a day, man. Anyway, I got in there earlier today, pulled the AC unit out, pulled out my false tailgate that I made last year coming into summer. And so I thought I'd share that information with you and kind of go over what my decisions were on why I went with what I went, what I looked at before I went with this, and kind of how I built the tailgate system and look at some of the results I got out of it. Matter of fact, it's 92, hang on a second, let me go grab this. It's 92 degrees out here. Heat index is over 100. Let me see if you guys can see that there. I don't know, maybe you can, maybe not. Let's see. There you go, something like that. And he's got all of it out. Anyway, it's 92 degrees out here, heat index over 100. The thermometer is setting right up in the middle of the bed right there. I'll show you a picture of it later if you can't see it now. But it's reading 117 degrees in there. I opened it up about maybe 10 minutes ago, 15 minutes ago, setting this up. It was 120 whenever I did that, but it's 117 in there now. But yeah, it's time. So let's talk about why I went with what I went with. Lots of different things out there that have come out in the last few years when it comes to truck camping or just camping in general and AC systems. One of the ones that most people know about or have heard about is the Zero Breeze. The EcoFlow Wave 2, I think, is the other one. I looked at all of those. Also, there's some swamp coolers that I looked at, and I'll talk about those in a minute. But all of those things had drawbacks that just weren't something that I really wanted to, number one, invest in. There's several that are, I mean, $2,000, $3,000 plus by the time you buy all the batteries that's needed for them, which is one of the big major cons, is that you have to have a battery system to run it. And if you're talking about camping in Oklahoma or pretty much anywhere, you get that out of your system, you're going to need not just nighttime stuff. I mean, you can get by with it, but in the evening time stuff, it's just, it gets 120 degrees here sometimes. I mean, it's just stupid hot, but you're definitely going to be over 100 with heat index pushing into that 120 plus. So you're going to need a system that's going to keep you cool for an extended period of time. So that kind of ruled those out. They weren't very efficient, weren't very cost effective. Swamp coolers, if you're not familiar with what a swamp cooler is, it's basically air that's blown over or across some type of coolant like ice or water. If you live in a very dry climate, I keep watching, they're having a neighborhood garage sale here and I don't want to run around, sorry. If you live in a very dry climate, then you can get away with a swamp cooler. They're pretty effective. If you live anywhere where there's a bit of humidity, they just make things completely miserable and sticky and stuff. So that was obviously ruled out because I live in Oklahoma. That left some of the other things that people go with that just were smaller units that just, again, would not combat. And that's the thing with the Zero Breeze and the EcoFlow Wave 2. They don't do a very good job cooling the back of these trucks or tents whenever you have all that radiant heat coming off the top of it. So what does? Well, window AC units. They're really, really efficient, generally speaking, especially the newer models. You get a 5,000 BTU, which is what this is, and they can cool about 150 square foot area. And so that was one of the things that drew my attention, and they're cost effective. You can buy these new, excuse me, at places like Walmart for about $150. So that was one of the positive things of it. I think that would definitely do the job. The problem is, how do you mount these, and the problems that come from trying to mount them. And there's really, I've seen guys try to hang them off the side with their windows and stuff, and I wasn't into doing any of that. And the simplest solution, and that's not my idea, I've seen it done multiple times on YouTube and different areas, was to just build a false tailgate. So that's what I did. Another pro of this is, with those other units, they take up space inside the cab, and you still have to vent them outside. So you have hoses coming in, hoses coming out. They generate heat on their own, and then, this beard's out of control today. and they take up space. I mean, you're looking at like a good size vacuum cleaner kind of thing and sitting inside there. So I didn't want to do that. I want to keep space to a minimum. The benefit of this is it takes up literally no space. I mean, just a few inches of protruding out from the tailgate or the false tailgate. And it sits outside, and so that vents and all that heat that it generates stays on the outside. So that was one of the other reasons that drew me to it. Now, this particular unit I picked up on Facebook Marketplace, still brand new in the box, unopened, for $100. I think he wanted like $125, and I said, hey, I'll come get it today for $100, and I got it that way. Now, one of the things that can be a con to this is you are limited to shore power. So you're going to have to plug it in somewhere. It's not going to run off a battery station or anything like that, or a power station. It will run off a generator. Now, let me talk about the specifics about the unit that I got first, and then we'll get into running it off a generator. So this unit is the Midea.
Remind me back of my stripping days.
It's a, like I said, a 5,000 BTU. It pulls about 5 amps, if I recall right. Now, the issue is that will be powered by a lot of generators. The problem is that that's not a startup amperage. It's going to pull 9 amps at startup. Now, I initially ran this with a 1,000-watt propane generator, which is super quiet. It's a great generator. I love it. But, excuse me, it maxes out at like 6 amps, I think, as far as what it'll allow. Now, there's a workaround for this, and that's what I did last summer until it bit me in the butt. On startup, if you just put it on high and hit start or turn it to max cool, it's going to trip that overload on that particular generator. And most generators of that wattage are going to have about the same. So what I did was I started on low fan, go to high fan, go to low cool, and I'd let it acclimate and stuff so I didn't get that big surge. And I eased it up in there, so by the time I went to high cool, it would drop down, you'd hear the generator drag a little bit, and then it would pick back up. Now that's fine, and I ran it that way a lot until it got to, I was on a night that was hot, but it wasn't so hot that it didn't stay on max cool all the time. It was cycling that compressor on and off, and every time it would cycle that compressor, it would surge back on. When it would come back on, it would surge, go above that amperage for that generator, and it would trip the generator surge or overload protection and shut down. And I was in the middle of nowhere when that happened, and it was miserable because it happened early in the night. So I didn't have an AC unit for about another 8 hours. So anyway, what I would recommend and what I'm doing now is using a 2,000-watt generator. 2,000-watt generator on average will have the capacity to handle that 9 amps, but you'll need to check that. Again, different excuse me, different refrigerators, good Lord, different air conditioning systems will have different pools of amperage and stuff like that. I think the wattage on it is only like 400 or 500 watts. So just do some research. Now, they have a remote control version of this that has some electronic components. I didn't want that for a few reasons. First was I knew that it was going to pull more watts and amps and stuff like that, but and it's more expensive, and I'm just a few feet away so I can reach over and turn it on. If you are going to run this on shore power, you're going to need an extension cord, and if you're not familiar with running high draw appliances or power tools and stuff like that off of an extension cord, the average extension cord you buy, even the thinner, smaller ones that you're going to get, different gauges, like you're going to find at Walmart and stuff, you're probably not going to be, well, you're not going to want to run them. They're going to burn everything up on here. So you can, about a 12 gauge extension cord is what you're going to need. Just to be safe, the further you get away from your power supply, the more that's going to be a factor. So I went with a 10 gauge. One of the things that people will tell you, or they have concerns about here, is condensation and having to have a drain hose. That's the case if you buy an older unit. I'm not sure when they started making them this way or when they did this transition, but new units do not need a drain hose, or the ones that I've been aware of and seen, do not need a drain. What happens is they have a tray built into the bottom of them. As condensation occurs, and it will occur, it collects in the bottom of that drip pan or that drain pan, and then there's a fan, and as that fan rotates around to cool the compressor, it flicks that water up. It's just enough to dip into that drain pan, and it flicks that water back up onto the compressor and motor and stuff, and it cools it internally that way. That said, it does not use all of that. So in the morning, whenever I would get out and go to take and break this down from camp, I'd have to be careful about moving it over to the edge and taking it out, because it's full of water, or had a lot of water in it, I should say. And just in case there was a spill or an overflow or something like that, I use, let me grab it real quick. That's probably sitting on the tripod, of course. I use just a little, I think it's like an entryway thing. I don't know, I got it at Walmart for like maybe a couple bucks or something. I set that up underneath here. I'll show you whenever I set it up later. So how efficient is it? How well does it cool? That's really what you probably want to know. It's fantastic. It's absolutely awesome. I used it last year up to like 111. I did testing before that where it was like today, a lot higher inside there. But the exterior temps that I was dealing with, I've got a video up where I camped with it. It was 111 degrees, and I mean, it was awesome. That's also, I believe that's the video where it messed up, but I can't remember. Anyway, at 111 degrees, I think I tested it at 119 is what it got up to in there one time. It drops it down to 62. We're gonna do it today. It's still reading with the door open and stuff now. It's got that interior temp to 113. See if you guys can see that maybe. 113 interior wise. I brought that up here so it's getting some heat off the truck. So it's showing the external temperature as 101, but 113. I'm going to show you how I built this false tailgate first, and then we'll rig it up, turn it on, and then just let it run, and we'll see how long it takes it to get it down to a decent temperature. So on this false tailgate, it's very, very simple. I made it out of plywood. I think I used, I think that's three-quarter inch, something like that. And whenever you're doing that, you can use thinner plywood, but you want to get a thickness that's going to kind of fit with the channel that you've got, and I'll show you what I mean by that in a second. I tried to maximize the false tailgate taking up as much space as possible, and number one, so it would insulate better, so it would be more sturdy, holding the weight of the air conditioner. So don't skimp on that. Get the thickest that you can, and I actually had this laying around, so it didn't really cost me anything. But what you want to do is you want to measure the height, and what you're looking for, well, obviously the height and the width. I mean, come on. But, and I don't have this set in here yet, but you want it to measure to where when you drop this down, it's going to get as close to that as you can. But you also have to have considerations for your topper. And so the design of my topper and my tailgate was such that when they come up, they kind of have these weird angles. So I can't just make it to where it just slides down in from the top. So I have to angle it in. And I did what a lot of people did, and I just cut a notch out over here to go with the latch. And I'll show you a better picture of this to show you, or to go with this latch right here. The main thing is sealing it up at the top. And on these Rams, the tray that shuts down is kind of a pain. So you just kind of have to work within that, make sure that you fill up as much space as you can. A lot of people use pool noodles and stuff like that, and they have different sizes of those. So you have some leeway there. What I did was I went with pipe insulation, some good quality pipe insulation. And this has an adhesive strip. If you've never used pipe insulation, excuse me, you have a little peel-off adhesive tab. And so once I put it on, it's there. I mean, it's stuck all along here. So I like that because I mocked it up with a pool noodle, and the pool noodle was kind of popping off and stuff. So this has been working really, really well for me. And I think they're about $3 for a section of it. So get it at Lowe's, Home Depot, stuff like that. But let me show you kind of how I did this. Let me get the camera. So when you're building this, this is the cutout that I made right in here, and I just notched that out. I don't know if I said it or not. I just put indoor-outdoor carpet on there. I bought a roll of this for my bed, and I used the leftover. You can see it right there. And I used the leftovers to do this project with. But you're going to notch that out. So you're going to raise it, push it in, and let it drop down. So when you do this, you'll need to measure this higher than if you just put this up and lean it against there and try to measure that. When you put it in, it's not going to hold, and that's what holds this in actually. And so you want to go, what I did was I set it in, I measured where that was, and then I went just about an inch or so above it, and then notched it so I can pick my board up or my false tailgate up, push it through there, and then it will slide and drop down behind there. And it just rests in this channel right here. Whenever I did this, cutout, I wanted to make sure that I cut it close as I could to the size of the AC unit, because I didn't want to have to run a secondary support underneath it. And I'll show you more about that here in just a second. Let me show you how I put this in now. This may be kind of hard to see from there, but what I'm going to do is I didn't want to notch it on both sides because it wouldn't work. I couldn't lift it up on both sides and do this. So I've got to, because of the angle of the camper shell or cap and the truck bed. So what I do is I angle it in on that side and then keep it elevated on the left side over that latch, and then pop it in place. So I'll kind of show you how I'm doing it. So I kind of go in at an angle there. Then up, and then drop down. So I'm behind the latch over there, and I'm behind the latch over here. And I think I told you wrong. I think I leaned it up and then cut underneath it. Don't be a dummy like I just said it wrong. I leaned it up, found where that was, and then cut the latch underneath it, so when I lifted it up, it would drop down. That's what I should have said. Sorry about that. But there it goes, and it's nice and sturdy. So I'm gonna give you guys a close-up of how I put that in. Again, I'm angling it in on that side, and then I'm just going to lift it up over that notch, push it back, and then drop it down, and it's completely secure there, just like that. Now, one of the things I didn't mention earlier is whenever you are putting the carpet, you're taking your measurements for this, understand that you're going to put carpet on it, and that's going to change your dimensions a little bit. So you're going to need to allow just a little bit of room for that if you carpet it. And I mean, you can coat it with all kinds of stuff if you want, but the carpet makes it look nicer, looks more professional, I guess, I think. But allow yourself that little bit of extra, sometimes a quarter to a half inch in your measurements whenever you're cutting for that width of that. So just make sure that you allow for that. But yeah, definitely don't do what I said earlier. When you lean that up against it to get your notch cut out, you're going to find the notch and then go just below that and make your cut, and then it'll work perfectly. How I put this in is you can see, I just pull it from the front to the back, and I'll show you that. I'll see if I can get a better angle on that for you. So the key here is to not get your beard caught in the process. See if we can get this out of the, that ain't gonna work. Let's tuck this in the shirt. There we go. Now again, I made this tight, so I didn't need an external support. So it takes a little bit of wiggling and finessing at first, but it's not that bad. There we go. And just right all the way through. So you can see it's nice and tight. There's a little thing on the other side of there. I'll show you from the inside. But nice and tight, it doesn't need a support, and it's not angled such that it's not leaking out or anything like that. To hook up my extension cord, I kind of usually just run it out whatever side the utility outlet happens, or the electrical outlet happens to be on from the campsite. So I'm going to run it to an electrical outlet in my garage, and then I'll probably just run it out over here on this side. So what I will do a lot of times is I'll just kind of wrap this around a couple times just to kind of help manage that cable or that cord. Now I could run it back behind here, but I don't. I just pop it into that little spot I've got right there, plug her in, if I can do it right. Where am I at? There we are. Plug it in, drop it down, and then it just runs. When it drops down, it just runs right along here, and I can push all my cables back over here and hide them. I know what you're thinking. Well, how do I get my beard so luxuriously soft? But more importantly, you're asking to yourself, how the hell does he get his big butt in and out of there? And I'm going to tell you right now, seductively. That's foremost. If you're a fireman watching this, get prepared. If you're just a normal human, then yeah, nothing glorious about it. But here's the process. And I just remembered I'm wearing Crocs. I forgot to change. Oh man. Oop. That's it. What are you doing? You gonna get in here? You already got in here, didn't you? Well, hello. You ready? So what I would do from here is just turn it on. Look, man, if you're a teenager and you wear them, you're fashionable. If you're my age and wear them, you're an old fart. So figure that one out. But yeah, here's how it looks inside. Like I said, I will push this cord if I was gonna mess with it. And long term, I'd put it all back up in here, run it all down through there nicely and all that kind of stuff. But I'm not really worried about it today. It took me forever to find this because Preacher knocked it over inside there and it went behind the bed. But the reading is for the outdoor thermometer, which is inside there. So it's 108, or showing 108 in there now, if you guys can see that. So 107 just dropped. So we'll set that. I'll have to look and see what time it is, and then we'll see how long it takes it to get to an acceptable temperature. All right, guys, so the beard's out of control. I got sidetracked. I had some phone calls to make. It's been about, just leave whenever you want to, my man. You're the one, the star of these videos anyway. Anyway, it's been about an hour and 15-20 minutes. I was on the phone and I got sidetracked. Anyway, it is 64. See if you can see that. I was inside. I've been out here just long enough to set the camera up, and I went from 70 to 82. So it's still climbing. It's still about 90 plus degrees, or about 90 degrees out here. But it's 64 degrees in there. Hope you can see that. It usually takes about, in my experience with running this system, it takes about an hour to really get down below 70 when you're over 100 in there. But I mean, if you set up camp, throw this in, and you're doing your other stuff, I mean, who's going to complain with 64 degrees when it's 100-degree heat index? Sit. Thank you. Let them deliver, man. Why do you hate them so much? It's not your bank account they're getting paid through. He likes the UPS guy. Can't stand the FedEx guy. Depending on who's delivering the Amazon packages, he may or may not like them. Like I said, I ran it in one of the videos where it was 111 degrees and stuff. So it's super, super efficient whenever you look at what it takes to run it, which, you know, shore power or a generator, versus multiple batteries and several thousands of dollars to get to there with one of those other systems. Nothing wrong with those systems. If you have the space and you have the cash to buy the batteries, I guess they work. I don't think that they would be as efficient at cooling this or as effective as cooling this in Oklahoma heat with the humidity, just from what I've seen of other people reviewing them on YouTube. But like I said, if you're looking for a very simple setup that's really cost efficient, you don't have to have that generator if you don't want to. You can buy generators, you know, for a few $100. You pick them up used, but this system, I picked it up for $100. I've got less than the sheet of plywood that I had left over, but if you went and bought that, say you spend another $50 in materials just to get this, which is way overpriced, but say you did, you got $150, and that would include the cost of your extension cord in there. So $150, man. And if you paid retail $200 and you got a system that's going to keep you down at 64 degrees, dude, come here. Just come here. You're in timeout. Come on, leave the cat alone. You're in timeout. Hey, up here. You're in timeout. Leave the cat alone. Hey, get up here. Come on, here. You're in timeout. Can't leave. Sit. Sit. I'm waiting. Sit. Thank you. Hey, look at me. Why? Look at me. Hey, I get no respect around here. You know, if you got shade, it's going to cool a lot faster. If it's not as hot, if you open it up and vent it out, which I didn't, you know, which is what I would do, I'd open all those windows, let it get some of that heat out of there, and get a more accurate kind of ambient temperature, and then put this in if you wanted to, something like that. But going from 100, I think it was 108 to 64, that's 40 some odd degrees, 46, 47 degrees. Yeah, 47 degrees.
Bear on 15, 20.
If you follow this channel, you know that Preacher likes to stay in the cab of the truck at night. Last year, I had him back here with me, and it wasn't the best for both of us because I move around a lot and I like to watch TV, and he likes to go to bed early. So I had to figure out a way to, and see if I could, cool the cab of the truck with this unit as well. And I figured that out. And I'll show you how I do that in an upcoming video. So if you have dogs or maybe another person that sleeps up there, this unit will work effectively and just as efficiently to cool that. And so just look for that in, I don't know, probably about another couple or 3 weeks. Maybe I'll have something up on that. It's still cooling down. Like it's at 62 degrees now. So not bad at all, man. Dude, it's like a, like a refrigerator. I went back and was reviewing some of the footage when I was killing time while this was cooling off. And why didn't y'all tell me I was sweating like a hog? I mean, I had boob stains and pit stains and every back stains, probably butt stains. It's embarrassing. Not as embarrassing as the Crocs, which I still have on. They're new. Oh, they're not new. They're new to me. Well, that doesn't mean they're used. Why am I got them as a gift, which is the ultimate. It's like, here's Crocs and your AARP card. Probably like 4 o'clock. I should probably take my Crocs in and eat dinner and get ready to go to bed here in an hour. All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope if you had questions or were looking into something like this, that it was able to answer some questions and maybe give you some ideas. For me and Mr. Rude there, that's it. Like and subscribe, all that kind of good stuff. Until next time, put some gravel in your travel. And now you can do it with air conditioning.